Okay, good afternoon everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Richard Bowser and I'm the editor of Property Investor News magazine. We first started talking about build to rent about 14 years ago, and probably at least once a year within Property Investor News we've looked at the evolution of build to rent. So this afternoon we're going to, in about 40 minutes or so, attempt to put some flesh on the bones of what is build to rent, what's happening out there, what does it mean, more particularly try and answer any questions that you might have about build to rent, whether you are a developer or a landlord. And obviously this is the Landlord Investment Show, so one must assume that most of you in this audience are landlords. I have today three panellists with me who are going to attempt to answer some questions and on build to rent. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself? Paul Higgs?
Yes, my name's Paul Higgs. I'm actually a developer. I've been in development, big and small, for 35 years now. And I am just working on my first medium-sized build to rent scheme at the moment.
Okay. And the next panelist?
My name is Gerald Solis. I'm the acquisitions director for Build to Invest. We undertook our first build to rent back in 2012. We successfully delivered almost 900 units in the build to rent sector. We are also a property consultancy that specialises in income generating assets and effectively retail markets out build to rent to the masses, as opposed to being a reserve of institutions.
Michael Jones, residential estates, investment consultant, specialised generally in student accommodation, serviced accommodation, buy-to-let property.
Thank you, Michael. So, most of you will be aware that in the student sector there's been a real boom in purpose-built student accommodation being created. That's build to rent. The build to rent, in terms of what we're here today to talk about, is the build to rent that's being built for private tenants, post-university and beyond. In Property Investor News in the last 12 months we've run 3 specific articles looking at 3 different schemes. The first was a scheme in Hayes that we reported on. This was around 200 units. It's an up and running scheme. It's purpose-built build to rent, 1, 2 and 3 bedroom flats in a scheme next to Hayes railway station. So all of the tenants are private tenants. It's completely managed by a very experienced operator. So we reported on that. Our next report was about Wembley, which is Quintain's massive scheme. If you're not familiar with what's going on at Wembley, and if you've not been anywhere near Wembley Stadium of late, and you go there now, you will see a sea of cranes that are building what is scheduled to be 5,500 rental apartments on this one site. That's a significant amount of supply going up in one location. It's going to be rolled out over the next 3, 4, 5 years. That's a £3 billion scheme around Wembley Stadium. The third article that we wrote about build to rent was in our most recent edition of the magazine, something very, very different. Not monolithic blocks, not targeted at 25 to 35 millennials, but a scheme in Leeds that's been put together by a private developer. It was bought, the land was bought 11 years ago. The developer's got massive experience in the student market, it's HMO Landlords, but they bought for about £7 or £8 million a site which was previously a student accommodation site, and they developed a community, or they are developing a community. The first few buildings were recreations of buildings that were already there, small 6, 8 flats, and then the second phase was they created 14 townhouses purely for rent. targeting the upper echelon tenants. So rents on these 3, 4, 5 bedroom townhouses, good spec. Anything from about 1,400 up to about 2,500 a month. For Leeds, you know, that's quite serious rental levels. But they're also not just targeting with their vision. They've got a vision for the next stage that's just been built, which is a block of flats. 22 flats in the first phase and another 24 in the second phase. And then there are going to be some more flats created purely for retirees or for later living. So their vision is to have this village green with a community, but purely for rental. So I've given you 3 different examples of what we've seen ourselves reporting in Property Investor News. So let's hear from the panelists what their thoughts are about build to rent, what's happening, and what are their thoughts. Paul, do you want to kick off with this?
I think an important thing just to mention is why institutional build to rent is becoming such a big thing, and why the central government are sort of pushing it big time. Because I know lots of landlords think that the government, it's all because the government have got it in for them. So obviously, you know, we all know about the tax changes and stuff like that, which is not helpful. But the main reason government is pushing build to rent is because it's we've got a massive housing problem in this country, everyone knows that. And the mainstream house builders, and even smaller developers like myself, you can only build units so quick up before you saturate the market and basically cannibalise your own market. So all the big developers in the country, even if they went full out and they had enough land and enough planning permissions, they couldn't build quick enough to satisfy the demand. So central government have obviously realised that if they can bring in more types of operators into the market, then overall that will increase housing supply. So, and of course when it comes to institutional investors, so your Vivas, your Legal & Generals and all of that sort of type of stuff, housing totally fits their model. It's long term, it's stable, obviously it will have capital growth over time. So that's it. So it's worth pointing out that it's not this whole growth of build to rent and PRS at a big scale. It's not designed just to hammer smaller landlords. And then separately to that, in terms of build to rent, and as far as I'm concerned as a developer, everything is just really all about planning. That's quite a bit.
Okay, next one.
I think from our perspective, we are, as I said, a property consultancy, as well as a developer, and also a management company. I mean, our first foray into build to rent was effectively to provide these income generating assets to the retail public, really. So it's had an exceptionally good reception in that respect, and we continue to do well within the sector. But we wholly advocate landlords looking into our products in terms of the build to rent aspect of student accommodation, because it is profitable. They tend to yield higher than standard buy-to-lets, and so from that perspective, it is as an investment strategy. Couldn't think of anything better to put money into, and we've proven it over several years now. And I think that in terms of the general word build to rent, it can be adopted for a great many things. But in my opinion, the main question I'd like to ask everybody here as well is what is build to rent? Is it about the amenities that the block provides? Is it about the size of the units that are located within the blocks itself? Or is it about the affordability aspect of the projects themselves? And I think that if you look at most of what is said out there, it is about collective living, and I guess to a certain extent I think that it addresses a need for society in many respects to try and live outside of their little four boxes, four sided walls, if you like, of their apartments, and and be a bit more interactive, because these projects do tend to have things like cinema rooms and private dining rooms and gyms and everything that you find in a hotel. And I think that what Build to Rent really for me is about a lifestyle choice in many respects, but at the same token it yields significant wealth.
Yeah, there's a lifestyle, but then there's the cost of the lifestyle, and providing a lot of the amenities that you've just described comes at a cost. Because that space could be used for other things, and are those facilities going to be used? And one of the things that you said, just with Build to Rent blocks where they've got a gym, and a lot of these gyms in developments where it's a mix of owner occupiers and buy to let, and a lot of the gyms are unused, or virtually unused, they're gathering dust. So there's a cost attached, isn't there?
Yes, there is, but from our perspective, we're producing 318 apartments in Luton at the moment, which is built on this hybrid model. And the way that we've addressed that issue of amenities being underused is to put something like maybe a pure gym there, a 24-hour facility, low cost with regards to where in terms of the service charge, so that all of the residents can use it when they like, but at the same token it's relevant to the local environment setting that it sits, and it also provides an avenue for other people to look at the building and aspire to live there as well. So it serves many purposes.
Yeah, that makes sense what you said. Yeah.
I think in terms of impact, I think there's two sides to the coin really. I mean, if you look at markets which are saturated, there's obviously some danger in there that markets could become even further saturated by additional supply. But on the flip side, I think if we look at markets that aren't oversaturated, I think it's generally going to increase the standard of buy-to-lets. I think that's one of the positives that will come out of it.
Okay. How many of you are landlords in the room? Just put your hands up if you're landlords, primarily. Okay. And how many of you are into development? Okay, so yeah, probably 2/3, 1/3. Okay. Yeah, but obviously the purpose-built student accommodation sector, there's unquestionably oversupply in some parts of the country. With Build to Rent, the rollout has really just got going. I mean, I think we're anywhere near the actual number of units that are up and running and occupied, like the one that I just described over at Hayes. Even the Quintain products at Wembley, I think in total they've not even got 500 units yet occupied. And obviously there's significantly more going to be built in the years ahead if all goes to plan. But one of the things that's obviously been touched upon is rent levels relative to what's being provided and affordability ceiling for people. What can people afford? What do they want to afford? What are their choices? If your benchmark is $1,200 a month for a young couple outside of, say, Zone 4 in London, and you're faced with a $2,200 a month rent for a 2-bedroom apartment in a very nice part that is built to rent, but you're going to get this, and this as extras. Actually, people go, well, I'd rather make my own choices than that and pay something near what I can afford. And what you just described with the pure gym as an example is probably a sensible addition. So you've listened to us for 10 minutes or so. This is more about you guys and what you want to ask questions about Build to Rent. So who's got a question for the panel? Thank you.
Yes, I mean, where I'm looking at this is in terms of people who are renting. Are you saying that this is going to be a new sort of way forward for people not aspiring to buying their own properties now, but just renting on an ongoing basis in the future?
Yes,
and
all ages as well. All ages. There's a significant percentage of people in my demographic age group, probably yours, who are going to be in the years ahead lifetime renters.
And do you think that the maintenance and care of these properties, because they're only rented, is going to be sustained? And is it going to be really a good investment long term? Because I would always be slightly nervous in terms of renting properties myself, but keeping a very close eye on it. What are the guarantees? If I was to invest in this, what would be the guarantees that the properties will remain?
The market will decide. But that particular build-to-rent operator, whether it be some of those that I've already mentioned, or one of Paul's in the years to come, or some of the others. I mean, the supply is primarily at the moment in London. There's more going up in Manchester, and then there's bits and pieces going up all around the country. Primarily flats, but there's an operator called Sigma that are doing housing up in the northwest for the more affordable end of the market. The market will decide. If that operator is not providing a good service, then tenants will vote with their feet, surely.
I think for the investor as well, I think there's going to be more options, because you might not want to invest in a scheme with a gym, with a concierge. You might not want to pay such a high service charge. So therefore, you don't invest in that scheme, but there will be other schemes in other areas, maybe with different facilities, you want to invest in, you choose to do so. So I think a lot of the schemes that are in the market just on the buy-to-let side, I don't know, they seem to be battling for the same thing, and maybe putting facilities in there which aren't really. I've seen cinema rooms in student developments. I've never seen anybody sit in a cinema room in a student development in my life, and you pay for that. So that'll be down to the investor's choice. I think there's probably going to be more choice for investors moving forward.
I think with regards to our particular project, I've seen all of our facilities used. Regularly students participating in similar society evenings, etc. It is about good management at the end of the day, and a good property manager will keep people engaged in the buildings that they occupy. I mean, with regards to your question on is it profitable long term, I think, regardless of the fact that they are specifically designed for renters, we don't, we're not an institution, we sell to the likes of all of you in this audience here, and naturally good management side of it enables us to give good returns to our investors, and long-termly with regards to an exit route as well, provided that the rentals are strong, you'll also have a good pay there at the end of it.
No, I mean, one of the things I will say is that with build to rent, just like anything, there's a range. I mean, literally, build to rent could be someone building one house with the intention of refinancing and holding it and renting it out long term. At the other end of the scale, it could be legal and general doing a 800 or Queen doing a many hundreds of unit scheme, and there's a whole and everything in between. And depending on what you're doing, you've got to think very carefully about the design. So, for example, my little thing I'm currently working on at the moment is 107 units. So it's a reasonable size, but that wouldn't be of interest to the legal and general to as well, because it just doesn't fit their model. So there's a whole, it's a bit more like the hotel model in a lot of ways. So there's a whole load of stuff to do with economies of scale and efficiency. So there's a massive range of this stuff.
I think the other thing that I'd like to add is that affordability is a key factor in especially what we do. We look at areas which really can add value to the average investor out there. But we've concentrated our scheme, current flagship scheme in Luton, which is where an awful lot of what the government is trying to do currently is to promote affordable housing. And we would want to be first through the door with Barclays Bank, because they've given £1 billion to the government's given £1 billion to Barclays for immense funding, specifically to promote the development of low, or should we say, good standard housing at the right levels, not the £500,000 or £1 million, but at 200s and 300s. And So when you look at purpose-built accommodation and what it actually supplies within the schemes as well, now ours is designed to be what I always refer to as destination living, where it's more than just where you live because you work in London and you travel back, commute to wherever it is, but it's also somewhere where you can feel like it's a community. You can interact with your neighbours within that scenario, or the coffee shop that's downstairs, or bump into the grocery that we visit within the scheme. It is designed also to make sure that the people always interact with the building, and there's always a way to look at that block and think aspirationally, do you know what, it's a good lot to live in. And I think that for me, what purpose-built or built to rent really is all about is making sure that investment is current today and for all time.
Thanks. Got a question down here.
In the purpose-built student accommodation market, we've seen it move to an all-inclusive model. So utility bills, broadband, insurance, contents insurance, even down to TV license is thrown in a lot of the time. Now, what does that look like in the build-to-rent market? So you've mentioned obviously the pool gym, but what's your kind of inclusive proposition to attract more tenants? What's included altogether?
Our model really, there are certain extremes in this, because there are, I've heard of an awful lot of build-to-rent models where if you want a dog, for example, to come stay in the flat, that there's another added cost to that. Or if you want, there's added extras at every single level. Where our model is very different to that. It's almost like a hybrid, really, because you still pay for your own utility, so you pay for what you consume. So we still give people the choice there. So we're not imposing on them that they have Sky or they use BT and all of those. But what we do give them is that element of convenience. So we're definitely not that all-inclusive developer. But within our student accommodation, we provide that for our tenants, for our students, predominantly because it's designed to attract them away from HMOs, which are usually substandard, that won't have the necessary, and maybe I'm being a bit unfair by basically overgeneralising there, but certainly I've seen some wrecks in my time.
Especially got legs coming.
especially from my time at university. We're providing the students with everything they could possibly need in order to experience being a student at the best level possible, where they're not worried about consumption of utilities or that they're going to overstretch their budget. It's actually a way that they can really fund the budget better. So that's our program.
Thanks. I'm sure every single person in this room who's a HMO landlord is providing the highest possible quality standard of accommodation. So let's just make that point very clear. So your question here again, so I hope that answers you well.
I just wanted to ask an answer. One other question which I was slightly students, and my experience of students, having got a daughter who was a student, and I'm sure you all, is that, and no disrespect to any of them, but they do tend to not always look after places as well as perhaps they should. And I would ask the question, all right, they presumably, these students, as you say, move on after 3 years. How do you find, in your experience of this, how do you find the level and maintenance of those units? Are they properly maintained? Are they, in terms of, okay, I'm investing with you, and then I want to invest with you for a further 3 years, how guaranteed is it
Okay, can we keep the answers short and the questions short? We're only about 10 minutes, so shall I make that very clear? So we'll get a chance, okay? Thank you.
With regards to the maintenance regime, I can't legislate much how a good management company is key to any investment in that respect. And yes, you're right that they are not as careful with the property, but we've got a good regime of effectively making sure that the properties are kept at a very high standard, because it's the only way we'll get rented out year on year.
I agree, management's key, and in my experience, if you put a student in a pigsty, or treat it like a pigsty, you put them in a well-managed purpose-built student accommodation lot, they treat it well. So, as well, I think management is key, having that company in place, which I mean, one of our blocks that we have recently sold, the lettings company, have a scheme called the Student Ambassador Scheme, which has been adopted quite a lot in student blocks, where they hire 5 or 6 of the students from that block and pay them a small wage for actually looking after the place and managing the receptionists when they're not there. And that works fantastically well, because it empowers them to sort of look after their own. Doesn't always work, but yeah, okay.
Paul, thoughts on?
Well, again, also I'm a builder, so I'm about, planning ahead and designing everything in. You just need to be designed to suit. And again, there's different models for this stuff. So, places like the Americans, for example, will be brilliant at it, where it's sort of hands-on based off, for example. Their whole model is, they want people to come and stay for years. We all know, last thing you want is voice and turnover.
What you have to remember is that at the moment, I was at a trade conference back in February on Build to Rent, serious property trade commercial, and some statistics that they were throwing around demonstrated that of all the Build to Rent, I'm not talking about students here, I'm talking about purpose-built Build to Rent accommodation for private tenants. Nearly all of the rents were in the upper quartile, so literally at sort of 75th percentile and above. So in other words, all of these properties built to rent are going for the higher end tenants. And if you're charging higher end tenants and you're not providing higher end service, people will vote with their feet. So very much, as just been already said, for a successful operation, and these are being funded by pension funds and institutional monies as a long-dated income stream. They're being funded to get long-term income by pension funds that need to pay out to pensioners. And the only way they're going to do that is by getting good returns from the blocks. And if the blocks are not occupied and not well maintained, they're not going to get the returns. So it is very, very much about the operational management to make it a long-term.
My question was actually from...
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to ask that for the small slash medium-sized
Yes.
private build-to-rent,
Yes.
build-to-rent development, what are the key design features? Well, we're not looking at the seniors and the students, but really professionals.
Well, it's going to come down to location, as has already been mentioned. It's going to be about transport infrastructure, that's the nearest to, travel time to where people are working. The absolute fundamentals that any buy-to-let landlord should be thinking about, which is on a bigger scale. And then what you can provide per square foot that adds up.
Yeah, I think you need to do market research based on the location, because the facilities that you require, I think that's what you're asking about facilities. The facilities you require will really depend on the location and the type of person you'll be marketing towards.
And the type of people in that local community that can afford to pay what you're looking to achieve relative to you've got to pay to create that product. This one here, please.
Does the market want to aware technology? Is that nowadays?
Well, it really depends again on your target market. I think what you're trying to build, and you can, I've seen a lot of these apartments now which are really high tech with flat screens in the bathrooms and things. You can market to that market, or you can market to a very standard market. It just depends what people have got to pay really.
Yeah, I think with regards to what the market wants, I don't think the market wants huge investments into technology within the buildings because it then increases the price of exponentially. I think provided that it is a well put together block with, I think more importantly, I keep banging on about it, provided it is well managed. I think that is really what the market is.
I'll give you an example from one of the blocks that I looked at. For example, boilers. They've got technology on the boiler to not flag up when it's actually gone past and inconvenience the tenant at 7 o'clock in the evening of Christmas Eve, but actually flags up when it's starting to look a bit dodgy, and it gets somebody in advance to make sure that it's fully functioning 24/7. That's just a simple way. Data is also something that these guys, because they're dealing with volumes of tenants in large numbers, they're able to utilise and analyse a lot of data, and therefore with the aim of providing an ever more efficient customer service focused business, which is what I keep saying to people. This is what you've got to learn as private landlords. Look at what these guys are doing. You may not be able to do it on the same volumes that these guys are doing, because you have to build to rent large blocks, but you can learn from what they're doing. Maybe go and visit some of these blocks yourselves. Julie, you have a question.
Hi, yeah, how does this new breed of buy-to-let landlords actually help people to transition when they become families? Because a lot of what we're seeing at the moment is big apartment blocks. Okay? Some of the areas I operate in from an investment perspective, there is massive shortages of single-family homes. You can't get them abroad or so. You know, I know you mentioned, Richard, that there's perhaps some up in the northwest communities, and purely from an investment perspective, London's very differently doing houses from apartment blocks. So how is that going to work moving forward? You know, is that going to cause even bigger issues in the marketplace? People want to stop being millennials and having formerly been young professionals who have got a young family, but you know, that's probably not conducive living in an apartment block.
Yeah. Well, before I ask the panellists, my view on this is quite straightforward. The reason why developers build apartment blocks is you can get more bang for your buck from that piece of land, that footprint, nearer to the town centre or the city centre. Building family homes, the footprint is what it is. The price of that land is pretty high. And you know, in London now, I think it's nearly £100,000 for a standard deposit. You know, creating long-term family homes comes at a pretty high price. Thoughts?
I think my answer to that is that with purpose-built student accommodation, I do believe that the HMOs are then freed up for the specific need that you're requiring there. Because these houses are then available to go back into the normal pool for families, etc., to buy into. And I think the more of these purpose-built student accommodation blocks that are built, and the larger the number of HMOs will be then available to local staff.
Yeah, but lots of tenants, student tenants don't want to live in purpose-built blocks. Lots of them want to live in a traditional student house, which is well managed. That of course is opens up a different kind of work. If it's well managed, a lot of students prefer that community experience with 4, 5, 6 of their friends. So I understand where you're coming from, and lots of councils, Nottingham as an example, want to free up their housing stock for families as tenants. But these properties have been bought and adapted and converted into HMOs, and not always positively. Okay, so next question here.
One of the challenges we have when we started off build to rent.
What are the challenges?
Yeah.
I think from our perspective is finding land at the right price. And on top of that, convincing the councils to give a grant planning permission for a scheme that actually works.
And how was the investment funding strategy?
As I said, we're a property consultancy, and our funding model is based on our investors effectively putting in the cost to build the property within an escrow account facility. And yeah, we've successfully, as I said, in Luton alone, just within the M25 region, now have 900 rooms there. And we're about to complete another scheme in the northwest in Newcastle for 227 studio apartments in the servicing the university there. And yes, I think the funding model, when we first started, banks, I mean, the banks still don't want to lend anyway, so it is about, it is, yes.
What was it exit?
Well, there's, so we sell to the normal investor out there, i.e. you guys in the audience here, and with regards to the exit from there, you know, we're here as well to resell for you, as well as now, I mean, I've seen on Rightmove student accommodation properties that the likes that were sold previously on the market, so it's now becoming a normal status item out there.
So to be clear, your blocks, each individual studio or apartment is owned by an individual investor?
Correct.
Right, so it's not a block which is then owned by a larger...
It's not fractional. You own your own studio suite or an ensuite room, 250-year lease, and it is owned outright by itself.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, you pay, obviously the service charge is divided amongst all of the owners within that, and we naturally are keen to keep it as low as possible.
Okay, another question here, chap red side.
No, I think that you are very knowledgeable. I think this is newer, better than to run. It's a good idea. Because I'm a professor, I'm a surgeon. The university usually short of flat to run at their expense. And recently, many people like you don't flat to run. Many people like it. But then they ask no, ask no, because you guarantee for 5 years, and after 5 years, what happened?
Well, I mean, many of our projects, obviously, they have a guarantee for 5 years. The anticipation is that we'll re-lock in for a further 5 years after that, because if this building is managed and run well by us, we'd be crazy not to offer you terms for a further 5 years thereafter. And so, effectively, the party never needs to end.
Okay. So, chap in the back there.
Coming away from student homes, student accommodation, what are the times that you ask to, like, care homes? We deal with children's homes ourselves, as well as home shoes and homeless accommodation. So, in terms of the building for like the care home market, what are the times that area there and the development growth in area there?
Yeah. Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I think there's going to be massive increasing demand for my generation and people older. If you look at the demographics for the next 15, 20 years, the baby boom flowing through from 25 to 85, and what they're going to need. My mother-in-law is now at the cost of £1,250 a week in a dementia home, purpose-built home, yeah, it specialises in dementia patients. So I think we're going to see more and more of this. I think it's a massive investment opportunity in providing specialist services for that group. Thoughts?
For me, looking on behalf of my investors, it really depends how it's packaged up. If you're going to get a title deed per room, and you've got an asset that you're able to sell on and exit from them, yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a really good investment. I think one thing I'm not a big fan of is the sort of really long-term guarantees, because I think we can see a 10% guarantee for 10 years. If you actually do the figures in a very good market, that should actually increase inside 3-4 years. Yeah. And people actually think it's a great investment because they're there for 10 years. But actually, you know, we're seeing, I see places now that are considerably higher after 10, 15 years. You're talking up to sort of 15, 20%. Just really because of growth. I mean, the
over the time is that also improved. And again, it's about the operator, just like it is managing the company for the existing block, a good care home operator that is progressive in terms of its approach, making sure the care is obviously at the heart of what they do. It will yield. Naturally, in terms of the native group there as well, and already mentioned, the cost of care is rising all the time. And so, provided that it's a well-kept home and the rents are rising, by the time you decide you want to exit that project, whether it's 10 years or 5 years into it, you should do very well out of it.
We looked at Ministry of Magazine last year with a company, I think they just got their first one up and running down in out of South London. They raised 200 million of funding, and this is for like the higher end of the care. It's sort of senior living, but they've also, they've also got care coming in as and when needed, and then obviously people will then, at a later stage, possibly move on to nursing related. Yeah. Any more questions? Okay. You had a question, and then the chap at the back. So the chap in the grey top, and the chap there next, back there. All the questions seem to be coming from this side of the room, guys. I mean, I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Are you all awake then? Over you.
Yeah, hi there. Just wanted to understand what you think you might have seen in the impacts on existing buy-to-let in areas where there have been these huge schemes. I mean, does it destroy buy-to-let in those areas?
I think it's early days.
Pretty young, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very early days. If I were a private landlord in Wembley, my target tenant was a professional tenant, 25 to 40, then I would have some concerns. But at the same time, if you're a private landlord in Wembley and you've got 5,500 units of Quintain potentially competing against your single 2-bedroom flat, and you're charging $1,350 a month and they're charging $2,400.
I think from my perspective, this is now the generation of Airbnb, and from the perspective of these build-to-rent schemes, most of them will have concierge desks, and that is more in tune with the Airbnb model.
Yeah.
Where, as well, what I'd like to say there is that obviously naturally with Airbnb, your income potential is, if provided that manage it right again and get rented out, it could be a hell of a lot more than what you get on buy-to-let.
And provided the lease allowance for it as well, which is
that's
huge.
a separate story. But what could you do as a private landlord to offer services to your customers that you don't have to provide yourself? As been mentioned, you could do a deal with a local gym. If you've got half a dozen properties in a particular location, there's stuff like that you could provide at a much probably more affordable price for a tenant that's prepared to pay your $1,350 and maybe £100 worth of extras with the deal that you've got with some local service providers, rather than say 2-4 at a high-end build-to-rent complex. That's my thoughts.
So the question that I want to ask you about the Airbnb.
Hang on, we've got a mic here.
I was next, but I'm happy to let you go.
Well, no, you ask the question and then the lady, and we'll probably have to cut it then. So the chap at the back, carry on.
Okay, hi. Mark Owen from Firescape. Can I ask, what safety measures do you currently have in your student accommodation?
Well, we're amongst one of the few student accommodation providers that's NHBC registered. So within that, the highest level is really what, in terms of the technical point of view of it, naturally we provide everything in accordance to building regulation standards, but we're naturally conscientious about fire safety within our blocks, and we'll try and go the extra mile.
Okay, so can I just drill down a little bit deeper on that one? So students, chip hand fire,
Yeah.
what happens then?
No, naturally, within all of our individual units, we'll have all of the fire kit in there, so they'll have their fire extinguishers underneath the sink, which then they can, whatever's required in order to douse that fire out will be there.
That must be terribly difficult to try and train that many students how to use a fire extinguisher.
There is an induction from every time a new student comes along. They're warned of, they're effectively taken around the building, shown what the fire measures are, where the fire escapes are, what's expected of them if they are in this situation. And we're in the throes at the moment of actually putting together a safety video for them to know exactly what to do.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. And lady here, final question down the front. Thank you. I mean, obviously fire safety is massively important. We know you didn't remind us with rental, etc. Yeah, who wants to? Don't fight over it, guys.
It's very short. Do you take the deposit from your tenants?
Deposit?
Yes.
No, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these operators are not taking or nominal deposit. I think the one at Hayes, I think, was just £300 down. Much more flexible in terms of they have a more flexible approach. Some of them.
This is an extremely competitive market.
Yeah.
And I think that in order to ensure that we're filled, again, it's all about management. So whilst there is no deposit as such, because at the end of the day, what really is a deposit to us as landlords? We can't use it. You're putting it into a deposit scheme for somebody else to profit from. So why take it? No, I mean, from our perspective, we have our concierge and our team on the ground within the development. I understand it from a perspective of an individual buy-to-let unit, where you do need securities behind it. But from a purpose-built student accommodation perspective, these are students that okay, we have the guarantees from their parents. That's what we have. So if they do anything, then we can draw on the guarantees. But with regards to deposit, what is it going to be for a student? £250? Is that really going to be?
Okay. Well, listen, thank you to our panellists in the usual manner. Thank you for your time and participating. Thank you, found it useful. Thank you.